Met several times before, including 4 times on the European Tour, and that is currently deadlocked at 2 apiece. Two men who have often saved their best stuff for the Euro Tour stage as well.
I'm a firm believer that I think when Joe Cullen gets his teeth into one of these, he'll win it. To me, he's been a little bit disappointing over the last couple of years. I think he's a better player than he's actually shown on the European Tour so far.
He has knocked on the door on several occasions, but failed to get to that elusive final and take the chance. Many times he'll put in a fantastic performance, but then be unable to follow it up in the next round.
I mean, Mensur is Mensur. We all know what Mensur is capable of doing, and we've seen it plenty of times. I think Joe just needs a little bit more consistency.
And that's what Mensur does have now, isn't it? And you can see that in the seedings there. Number 5 on the Euro Tour. Suljovic's career story has been quite an interesting one, because for quite a long time he was disliked by darts fans. He was a bit slow, a bit erratic, and then all of a sudden he started to emerge as a top player, and he had that run at the Champions League when he won it, been in the Premier League of course, and the kind of big friendly giant of world darts, isn't he? And everyone loves him now.
He's a nice fella. I've always liked Mensur. He's a very approachable guy as well. You know, not just a great player, but a great person as well.
He's got the family with him here this weekend for extra support.
Always helps. Knowing that there's somebody in your corner, in your corner, fighting your corner as long as you are.
Yeah, and he'll want to put on a show for them.
And of course, the winner gets the winner of Wade and Chisnall. So yes, that's a tussle to look forward to as well.
Yeah, 2 men in form. James Wade, who picked up a couple of TV titles last year and reached the final at the Masters earlier this year, and Dave Chisnall has already won 2 titles in 2019. 104 plays 44. Suljovic has the first chance to get a leg on the board.
It's a bit of an awkward first start there from Mensur. It's blocked the treble a little bit.
And that's why he's gone elsewhere, but Joe Cullen now for a perfect start. An immediate break. Wants double 16.
A bit wayward. I don't think he'll be very pleased with that dart at all.
I just saw him kind of shaking his hand as if the dart had slipped a little bit. 20 for double 14, is it?
I would think so. With 28 being his favourite double.
Yes, he loves it there. And invariably he finds it and finds himself 1-0 up.
Joe seems to be throwing a little bit low at the moment, finding the throw a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah, he's got the rather conventional entry of the board where the darts stand up. Suljovic is a little bit more flat, which allows him to go above and below, but Cullen really needs that first dart to be high, doesn't he?
Definitely. Either in or above.
All low, as you well noticed, Mervyn, and that is a sign for Joe Cullen that he needs to just change something.
I find if I'm struggling to reach it, I just hold the dart closer to the point, and it allows it to float that little bit extra. It takes a little bit of getting used to sometimes, but it does help.
Yeah, I heard Simon Whitlock once say he'll actually, rather than try and throw it higher, as Cullen seems to start to find his range here,
that's better.
He'll actually loosen his grip on the dart a little bit, and he says that helps it.
Us dart players, we've all got different ways of trying to get over the hurdles. Some work for some and not others.
There are some players who don't think twice about just switching all around the board.
60.
Others that persevere with a treble 20. Dan Dawson in commentary yesterday, Merv, said that you were the best at stepping across the hockey and finding a way into the treble 20 bed when a dart was low below it.
Used to be. Maybe not so much nowadays, but I tend to switch a little bit more than I used to.
I think Max Hopp's almost perfected that shot as well, hasn't he? He seems to find a way past what seems to be impossible.
Got great darts from Mensur to set up double top on his next visit, if he gets a chance. Joe, what, 157? Yet again, first dart below, finds the treble 19, leaves 80. And superbly picked off 48 to leave 32.
Mensur, having survived a couple of darts to be broken in the first leg, has now missed a couple to break in the second. Make that 3.
So the great set-up from Joe. He gets a chance at double 16. First dart straight in. Thank you very much, sir. Back to a level contest.
Well, either player could have been 2-0 up, but we are tied at 1 apiece, so let's say that's fair. Cullen has had a shaky start to the year. He did reach a semi-final at a Players' Championship event early February, but since then hasn't managed to make it past the last 16. At a stage he's only made it to once since then as well. So Joe Cullen's floor form not really up to scratch. Last time out he had back-to-back first round exits, but he admittedly seems to be better on the stage.
It's a hard gathering, a Players' Championship on the floor. You can play extremely well and get nowhere, or you can have a bit of an iffy game and manage to get through a couple of rounds. It's a tough score.
Tough look there for Joe Cullen. Dart out of the treble 20 on the floor.
Recovered well with the third one, though, to find the second treble.
Yeah, of course, playing on the floor is of supreme importance, perhaps not just in the Pro Tours, but maybe even more importantly for those of you that have to qualify for these events, because they are becoming very, very significant, aren't they, in terms of qualifying for the events on the TV?
Yes, they are indeed. And unfortunately, we've had the playoffs for the third and fourth, and I didn't manage to get through either. So I'm fingers crossed that I'm going to have a good weekend next weekend. Nice shot if he can find a treble first dart. He does. Bit wayward with the second. I was expecting 2 there.
Well, shouldn't be unduly concerned, having left a 60 finish. It's perhaps easier for Mensur Suljovic than it is for Joe Cullen, just because of the angle of entry of his dart. Doesn't mind going high here.
That's just about perfect for him. That one isn't.
Oh, just followed it.
That's better. Finds 10s this time. That's a better dart from Joe Cullen, just under the top wire. Doesn't follow it with the second.
Has that sense of a match where the players are just kind of working each other out early on before it sparks into life.
But with this short format, you can be sussing each other out, and before you know it, the game's finished.
Yeah, that's Jermaine Watermaner. Yeah, he was beaten 6-0 by Michael van Gerwen, but he did have chances in that match. He missed a few darts at double here and there, had 2 dart finishes that he was unable to take out. Could have been a different story.
I wasn't at my best against Michael yesterday, I must admit, but it's had a nice little 1-2-1. Well, that was about my highlight, I think.
Running into MBG in 2019, and you won the biggest of the 3 matches. And your reward, I mean, the UK Open's a different format, isn't it? But your reward, Mervyn, for beating the world number 1 was a match with the world number 2.
Yeah, exactly. I found that quite nice.
How's your luck, as Kevin Painter would say? Are you a man who, I know we're early on in the season, are you a man who sets targets at the start of the year?
All my targets are as and what I do with the tournaments that are coming up. It's obviously the goal is to get through the first round. then the goal is to win your board, and so on. Then take each one as that comes. It's
not looking too far
goals
ahead.
within goals, small goals that are achievable. I'm not going to go back and say I'm going to win this tournament. I'm going to win that tournament. It's small steps, and then but big trees grow from acorns. So
well put and sounds sensible.
95.
What do you reckon? Top stops?
I think you start on treble 20.
That was an awkward dart.
But it's not just that. We mentioned the angle of entry earlier on,
Yeah.
and perhaps being too scared of blocking the double top bed, which is why your shout of tops might not have been a bad idea.
But saying that, he did hit 48 earlier to leave 32, so there was always that option.
Yes, the Mervyn King route. Suljovic has decided on his route and he's executed it to take a 3-1 lead and take the advantage in this match.
I mean, 48-32 is not a bad job, but it's not for everybody. It's something that I've been extremely comfortable with over my career. But it now seems to be swinging more for tops for me than 32.
Yeah, there are a lot of players who will try and avoid now leaving a 60 checkout just because often they only have half the bed to aim at after the first dart.
That's better dance. Great 180 from Joe. Probably didn't like the fact that he was broken last leg and wants to break straight back.
Yeah, and probably needs to as well. That was the first for Cullen, levelling up the tally in the match and levelling the tally in the tournament at 3 apiece.
Super dance. Great adjustment with the second and third dart there after blocking it considerably with the first.
Cullen is what can be described as a rhythm player, and perhaps a match against Mensur Suljovic is not the ideal opponent for him because Mensur has his own rhythm and it's kind of erratic, isn't it? He can take his time at times, he can go fast at times, and that can be more off-putting than someone who just consistently throws a little bit slower.
I think if you look at Mensur, over the last 18 months or so, his actual throw has speeded up a little bit.
Yeah, it's the bits in between.
Yeah, it's the slow walk from the table to the oki and taking his time there, which he's quite entitled to do.
Well, Cullen is entitled to take out a ton. Now he's going downstairs. And now he might be thinking he should have attempted tops, but whatever you miss is wrong and whatever you hit is right, isn't it?
That's very much the case. I think we might have a bullseye start here, or attempt at the bullseye, or a 25. That's an awkward dart.
Well, that's why he decided to go down for the treble 17 to leave himself double 12 had he hit it. But Cullen can hit back.
Had his chance to break back. Let it slip. Mensur sitting on double top. 3 in his hand. Slightly low. 2 10s. Gets the 10. Third dart. Goes into a 4-1 lead over Joe Cullen.
Cullen will be hurting a little bit after that last dart in hand. And it's a really interesting match because the player with the lower average is winning convincingly. Look at that.
That is quite a considerable difference as well.
Missed opportunity to Cullen. Not just missed darts at double, but the fact that he made mistakes at the back end of legs as well. Remember the dart that went in the 5 when he should have had a dart at double. Nothing wrong with the scoring.
When the checkout percentages tells its own story there. 1 from 6 for Joe. It's only 17%. Hence the reason he's 4-1 down.
Well, Mensur won't be delighted with his own checkout percentage, but it's more than enough to have given him this 3-leg cushion.
93.
Cullen knows here that this is really a must-win leg.
He's got to hold his own throw here. If he loses this one, I think it's more or less game over.
The 2 trebles would apply a lot of pressure. 1 would leave him on a checkout.
60.
That just allows Cullen to breathe a little easier.
Maybe to go a different way on the checkout as well.
124.
And not fireable right now, Joe Cullen.
I don't think we'd have seen treble 20 first start if Mensur had been on a shot out.
Yeah, would have been looking at the 18s to guarantee a dart at the ball.
That's awkward. So's that.
58.
But he's giving Joe all the time in the world here, but he won't want to mess about and leave himself in the madhouse. So that will be very, very pleasing, very relieving for Joe.
Seventh leg, Mensur to throw first.
Mensur's still taking his time from the table to the oche as he does every throw.
Do you have a plan when you play a player that you know will take a bit more time? I know that players in the past have sort of changed their route a little, gone for a little walk, gone over to the table themselves, just so they're not stood waiting the whole time.
I was once given a tip from Eric Bristow when I had to play Dennis Priestley in the Grand Prix, and he said, "Do you know how to play him?" And I said, "Well, what do you mean by that?" He said, "The speed of Dennis." And I said, "Well, I've not really thought about it, Eric." And he said, "What I do is I find a mark on the backboard or the floor or somewhere, and that's what I look at until the player is coming back from the board. Then I move to the oche and I throw the same speed. I don't alter my speed. I just fixate on that mark until it's my throw. And concentrate on that about what you're going to do with your throw." And I beat him quite comfortably. And I have that to thank Eric for.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense because it's about not letting it affect your rhythm, your throw, isn't it?
95.
Cullen's not affecting Suljovic's throw in this leg because the second 180 for the Austrian has put him on 95 after 9. And he can do whatever he likes here.
10. That was surprising.
79.
Yeah, had 38 left and opted for double 16 rather than his favourite double 14.
140.
A little bit of pressure from Joe. 3 in the hand for Mensur.
Three darts for a 3-leg lead.
Great adjustment.
Seventh leg, Mensur Suljovic. Eighth leg, Joe to throw first.
Back to a 3-leg cushion.
Suljovic taking care of business and looking to extend those head-to-head stats, 2 each on the Euro Tour. He does have an overall lead of 4-3 against Cullen. We might have expected the scoreline to be a little closer, but it should have been a little bit closer.
Through wasted opportunities from Joe, I believe. His finishing has not been up to his normal high standard.
140.
Yet again, nothing wrong with his scoring. Even Mensur seems to be thrown a little bit low now.
It won't faze him too much because he can usually find a way over. But as you mentioned, Cullen's had 18 scores of over 100. That's 5 more than Mensur.
58.
But he's had around half the number of attempts at doubles, which is bizarre, isn't it? Because scoring so well but not getting as many goes at doubles
60.
suggests that those mistakes have creeped in at the wrong time.
Is there a right time for a mistake, Chris?
And I suppose at the end of a leg is the very worst time, especially if your opponent is breathing down your neck. Now, Suljovic is not doing that in this leg.
But another couple of those might alter this leg entirely. Needs another one.
140.
Finds it, sets up the 160. Joe manages to find double 16. First attempt that throw. Back to 2 legs. Difference. Looks a bit happier. Maybe he won't after this throw from Mensur.
Yeah, well, now his checkout percentage is equal to that of Suljovic. So Mensur must be starting to feel like if Cullen is given chances, he's much more likely to take them than he was earlier on in the match.
I mean, they're both up to 33%, and that's a big leap for Joe. That's brought that up by half. Scoring's very high in this leg by both players.
Yeah, Suljovic's plan obviously to not give Cullen another chance.
57.
His third maximum will certainly go some way to making sure that is going to be the case.
Bit of a wayward 2 darts there from Mensur. Great recovery though with the treble 19.
Was that a good time to make a mistake, Mervyn? Well, perhaps not, because Cullen
140.
has managed to find 2 trebles and leave himself on a finish.
You require 114.
Will he get a chance to check it out, or will he be checking out of the European Darts Open?
Moves across to 18s. Bit wayward.
54.
Sets up 60. Now this has to go, really. There's one. Just underneath.
Yeah, Cullen will be very disappointed because he is the kind of player who can very, very easily follow the first start into the treble, and it was sitting up nicely for him. But now Suljovic will look for a 20 to tee up tops to book his place in the quarterfinals. And there it is. Mensur Suljovic defeats Joe Cullen by 6 legs to 3. Cullen missed opportunities early in the match, could and perhaps should have been a lot closer, but it's Suljovic who moved.